What is sportsmanship?
Oh man, okay. Bro, come on. How does he even hit me on halfway around? What's going on?
Welcome to the Racing Etiquette.
Jesus Christ.
In this section, you will be learning about sportsmanship, an important element in everyone's participation in the online races.
And a punt just to top it off. Why not? Yeah, that's the way. That's how you do it. It's beautiful racecraft being presented here on Forza Motorsport. What is sportsmanship?
What is sportsmanship?
We don't know.
The attitude you must have when you partake in a sport. So, what is sportsmanship? Everyone knows that all sports have rules.
Bro's defending, then he's coming back across.
Is that you must follow the rules. But even if you set lots of detailed rules,
No wonder why people ran in
all
this.
incidents during an actual sport just with rules. That's where sportsmanship becomes important.
Take his tag number down.
Sportsmanship can also be called the spirit of fair play.
You fucking moron.
And in addition to being fair
Absolute
and just,
moron.
sportsmanship also means that you
Wow.
don't do things that make you look bad.
What is this game? Hello everyone and welcome back to Forza, where as you can see I have been having quite a bit of trouble finding a clean race. It's been a bit of a struggle and here I am. I'm just doing some practice for a race that I've signed up for. This is offline, and by offline I mean off stream. This guy went off at the first corner as I was starting my hot lap, and a little bit of netcode there I believe, ending in his demise unfortunately. So we carry on nonetheless. So this, I've really been enjoying Forza, and I've started to play the game a little bit more just to try and get the hang of it, really understand what is going on with it, and try to see if I can get a clean race. That's ultimately what I'm after, is looking for a bit of that sportsmanship and to try and get better at the game, get a bit quicker as well. But so far it has eluded me, and yeah, so we're just going to carry on here practicing, doing some warming up. I have actually decided to try my hand at some tuning. So I've watched a few videos and I think I have a somewhat okay grasp of what I need to do. And I've also found that this Corvette is a very good car, very fun car to drive, very easy to drive, not as unpredictable, say, as the Falcon, the V8 supercar that I was trying to drive. So yeah, this car has been quite good already, and I'm just in this practice session trying to set a lap, like a benchmark lap, and then I'm going to do some tuning and see if I can improve that. So coming over the line here, and I get a 55.195, so not too bad. We are in P2 currently in the lobby, and I don't actually end up finishing this lap because I do realize that I'm running out of time. I just wanted to get a benchmark and then move on to do some tuning and then see if I can go quicker before we actually enter into the qualifying. So you can see I exit out, I adjust some of the gearing and some of the suspension. I don't do too much to the car, but just a little bit of what I understand to help you to go a bit quicker. So we do that and we jump back on track, and it spawns me right in front of another driver. So I was actually trying to let him go, but he didn't want to go. So I decide, okay, well, he's going to stay behind me. Continue on the lap, and we're aiming to beat our target of a 55.195. After a couple of decent errors on this lap, still do manage to do a 55.3. So I'm only about a tenth off my quickest time without the setup. And so this leads me to believe that I can definitely go much quicker with this setup. So I proceed to do another lap, and this one ultimately resulting in a 55 flat. So I take P1 in the practice session, and I decide that that is probably a pretty good indicator that we're onto something with the setup, because that lap wasn't really perfect either. So there's certainly more time in it. Jumping straight into qualifying and our first lap as we come across the line, it did feel like a pretty decent lap. You can see that P1 has a 54.3, and we're going to come across the line with a 54.7. So definitely improving and getting better, getting more used to the car, more used to the setup, more used to the track. This is actually a track that I haven't really driven too much before at all, and it was only when I very briefly tried iRacing. So yeah, that's the only time I've driven this track. It's taking a bit of getting used to, but I do enjoy the track. It is a very fun combination, and I do also enjoy these GT cars. I think they are great fun, and now that I've found a car that actually is quite decent with handling and I can sort of compete, it's quite good. It's quite good. So coming across the line of our second qualifying lap, and we do manage to improve just slightly by a tenth and a half to a 54.549. And our final lap is another quite decent improvement of nearly 3/10, 54.273, which puts us on P2 for the beginning of the race. So yeah, as I said, I've said this before, I really enjoy this structure of the practicing, and with the tuning, it allows you to do some practice, then tune the car, go back out and practice, and adjust as you need to, see what works, and then jump into the qualifying, and then you jump into the race. So it's a lot more in depth in that sense. You have a lot more build up to the race, which I quite enjoy, honestly. And you can see there's 24 players in this lobby, so we have a full grid, and we have managed P2, and there's some weird glitching going on there in the pits, which is, that's just a standard bug thing they haven't fixed yet. But anyway, moving on, and we adjust our fuel and our tires for the race. I have found that mediums are generally the go-to strategy that I use. Just use mediums, put enough fuel in for the race, and do a no stop. Usually it's about one lap over what you need, just to make sure you got enough fuel. And leading up to the start of the race, a lot of people tell you to copy what the leader does. And so what the leader does is often try to fake you out. So they will, like, for instance, this guy's leaving the soft tires on, and then right at the last minute, he is going to change to the mediums. So luckily I didn't follow what he was doing, because yeah, I may have missed out on swapping the tires over. So they do this, just a sneaky little way of trying to trick you. And because if you start on the softs here, your tires are going to be completely dead. You will have to pit. The car will basically become undrivable about halfway through the race. So, and now it is time for the race. You can see there the flames coming out the back of the car, looking very cool. And we are in our yellow Corvette starting in P2. So hoping for no carnage in this one, as we are on the hunt for some sportsmanship and to see whether or not we can actually get some clean racing. That's all I'm really after. So off the line we go, and this is actually quite a decent launch. We managed to get off the line quite well. P1 had an absolutely magnificent launch, and I decided to cover off the inside, because I've noticed that if you try to take the racing line, often people will just absolutely send it into you, and that is not fun for anyone. So on the opening lap, I'm just trying to get into a rhythm and hopefully not lose any positions. That is the main goal. And coming up to this chicane, the Audi driver does go really slow through here, so we are losing quite a bit of time, and this is not ideal. P3 is gaining on us slowly. So I have a peek up the inside there, no contact, which is nice to see, but ultimately we are losing quite a bit of time here. I'm not sure if he just has cold tires or he's not confident. His qualifying lap would seem to suggest that he is very quick, so I didn't really understand why he was going so slow. Maybe it's the different tires, I suppose. And yeah, but you can see P1, P2, P3 and P4 are all quite close to each other, and this is turning into quite an interesting race until we come up to this chicane for the second time in the race, and this man decides to have a peek up the inside, but he does not pull out. He just rams me off, and then this Audi driver comes into the picture. He does manage to avoid us there as we are rejoining on the track, and this is the gentleman, Burberry. He is who we are going to have a great battle with, might I say. And this was the first example of real good racing that I've seen on Forza, so it was quite a pleasure. And Yeah, so coming into turn 1, and he runs a bit wide there, so I do get the position. But he does come back on me quite quickly, and he's putting me under pressure. I just try to maintain and to catch up to these guys in front. So we don't want to do too much battling. We kind of just want to, as I said, get into the groove of things, start setting some decent laps, and go from there. So he goes for another move here around the outside, or he has a peak anyway, but I do sort of cover it off, and he goes for this magnificent around the outside move. I get a bit of a sloppy exit there, and he manages to pull that off. But I'm going to come back on him here with a little bit of help from the slipstream, and I do brake a little bit early. He's a little bit braver than me on the brakes there, so he does manage to take back the position. You can see there that P2 or P3 just went off the track. I don't know if there was any contact there, but as long as it's not involving us, that is all good. So it is a free position for us, and you can see the Audi getting a little bit loose there, so I was thinking about it, but I thought better of it. Let's just try to not lose any time and try to catch up to P2. So that's what we do. We settle in behind the Audi for a little bit, maybe until this straight, and see what kind of exit we can get. But I kind of bottle it there, so lose a little bit of time to the Audi. And around a lap later, we are now 2 seconds behind P3, so we have a bit of work to do, but I do get quite a good exit out of the last chicane onto the straight. You can hold it flat through there. I think maybe P3 is not as confident and not holding it flat through there, so he might be on different tires or have a different setup. I don't know. I did drive the Audi briefly. It didn't feel as good as this car. Maybe I just need a bit more time with it, but yeah, it could be any number of those things. You just never know. But anyway, we are catching him. We've got him down to a second again. So just trying to catch him back up and get back within the slipstream range ideally. And I noticed through the sort of the last sector, he has been a little bit rough. So try to gain some time through this section and get right up close to him so we can go for a move, hopefully over the start finish line down the straight. So that is what we do. You can see he messes up a little bit on the exit there. He just doesn't get the same run, and so I go for a peek around the outside. He does leave the space, but I wasn't able to carry the momentum to perform an overtake there. So we're trying to get the slipstream. He's trying to weave and dodge a little bit so that I don't get that slipstream. Braking nice and early so that I don't run into him, and we have this nice little battle where I'm very close to the rear of his car, just trying to let him know that I'm not going to do anything silly and that he can trust me, and then hopefully return the favor in any later exchange if I go for an overtake or anything like that. So again, he's a little bit slower than I am through this last sector, so I do manage to get right up in his slipstream, and I'm trying to go for a good run over the start finish line. So I do manage to get the run on him, and let's see if we can jump onto the podium coming into the final lap. So I'm braking as late as I possibly can, but I also don't want to run him off the track, so you can see I'm going up and down the gears to try and hold tight towards the apex of the corner to give him room. So nice clean overtake there, and we managed to sneak up onto the podium. And as you can see, there is a back marker who was ghosted, and this is poor fella's having a bit of a rough time, but it does sort of distract me, and I don't really take this chicane as well as I should. So the Audi is going to come back on me here and have a look around the outside, but I am braking quite a bit later than he's there, I think, and yeah, I took this final corner pretty decently, and we should be able to maintain P3. And then you can see right at the end, he does fall all the way back, and I believe he has actually run out of fuel. So there you go. That is probably the best, cleanest, other than the little bump on the first lap, but that is probably the cleanest race and best battle, I would say, that I've had with another driver on the game. And I don't know if this is a result of me now being in S-Class. So my safety rating has gone up from A to S, and now I'm almost at a 4,000 driver rating. So I don't know if that, I suppose it would have something to do with it. It's nice to actually be having some decent races, because my first impressions of the game was just horrendous, and it was just ramming everyone, just all out chaos and war and destruction. It just seemed like that was what the game was like. But it is nice to see that there is the potential for some good racing. So kudos to Burberry there in P4, good racing, and I look forward to more of it. If you guys enjoyed the video today, let me know by dropping a like on it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.